You're listening to the All-American Actors Podcast, Episode 13. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why thinking locally instead of globally could be holding you back in your career. That's coming up next. Ready to go behind the scenes and learn what it really takes to build a sustainable career as a working actor in the U.S. film and TV industry? Join me, Katherine Beck, your All-American Accent Coach, as I give you the insight and inspiration to take action on your career. Learn my best tips and tricks to performing with an American accent, and hear from working actors and other industry professionals to give you a comprehensive overview of this biz we call showbiz. This is the All-American Actors Podcast. We're going to start the episode in just a moment, but I wanted to start by giving a big shout out to a couple of my listeners who sent us reviews. The first one is from Leslie, who says, Katherine has been amazing to introduce everything American to my budding 10-year-old actor. She connects on his level and intuitively knows what depth of detail he needs in explanation and feedback. We are a team. We are a team, Leslie, and it's been such a joy to work with you and your son. Thank you so much for your support in my podcast as well. My next review is from Emma Louise Percy, who says, Katherine is a pro. Her resources are valuable to any actor wanting to up their U.S. accent game. Emma, thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words, and I'm so glad that you're loving the podcast and finding it a really great resource for you in your American accent practice. It is indeed, and that is part of the reason why I decided to start a podcast to be able to support my actors and other actors out there in their quest to mastering the American accent, to help ease some of the issues, the struggles, the questions you might have. I hope to answer them. I hope to help you out in this podcast. And if you want to be featured as one of our star listeners of the week, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review for this podcast, and you may just get a shout out right here on the show. So if you like this episode, go ahead and leave us a review. All right, now, the world is a big place. I think we can agree on that. And it's an even bigger place once you get out there and you start seeing the world. You get out of your town, you travel by plane. Remember those days where we used to travel by plane internationally? I know we will get there one day soon. But for now, let's just remember that time. Now, I remember the first time I actually traveled to Australia. I had never been out of the country other than visiting Mexico and Canada, but really I had never been outside of North America, the North American continent. And when I got on that plane and I flew for 14 hours, I truly began to understand how big the world is, and that sitting on a plane for 14 hours is not easy. I also learned that too. And I think sometimes we forget that, don't we? We forget how big the world truly is because we get so wrapped up in what's happening right here in our little pocket of the world that we often forget the bigger picture. And I bring this up because I remember this one day. This is back when I was still very new to accent coaching, and I really wanted to make it a business for myself. So I decided to seek the help of someone out there in Sydney that could help me branch out a little bit more, get my name out a little bit more in Sydney. So I consulted with a digital marketing person, and I remember he said something to me that really just completely blew my mind. And I will never forget it. He said, "Why are you thinking locally when you could be working globally?" And I was like, you know what? You're right. There's no reason to limit myself when I could be working with people all around the world. And that really reframed how I was thinking about how I wanted to do business, how I wanted to put myself out there, that I didn't have to limit myself to just working in person with somebody. I could work online and thereby opening myself to a global market. Now, the reason I bring this up is because as actors, we live in a very exciting time right now where the possibilities are endless. Acting is now very much a digital business. It's happening online more than ever before with auditions, with callbacks, meetings. You don't necessarily have to be in the same city to really formulate a business for yourself to become a global actor. You also have the opportunity to study in places like never before, to take classes at some of the top acting schools in LA and New York City. You have the opportunity to gain representation in the US. You have the opportunity to create your own work and put it out there online whenever you want. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, even a podcast. There are so many possibilities, and the world is craving good content right now. So if you have a story to tell, a story to share, then by all means, take advantage of this time and share your content, share your talent to the world. And when you start thinking globally, one of the biggest tools you can have, and well, let's be frank, will definitely need, because your agent or manager is going to be asking for it, is your American accent. Having an American accent is the number one way to take your career from local to global. And when you can break into the US market, there is no question that there are way more projects to audition for and way more opportunities to make a living as a working actor. So why? Why would you want to limit yourself? What's holding you back from putting yourself out there and working globally? And what will happen if you don't start thinking bigger? I know it can be scary sometimes to work outside of your safety net, but let's be real. To really build a sustainable career as a working actor, you need to think bigger. And that's what we want, right? To do what we love to do, to get paid for what we love to do. So I will ask you the same question I was asked years ago that changed my world. Why would you want to think locally when you could be working globally? So, take today and start thinking about ways you could work globally. What do you need to do? What steps do you need to take to work a little bit bigger today? Is there a class in LA you could sign up for? Is there a story that's burning inside of you, itching to come out that you really want to tell? A story you could write, film, and share? Could you work on your American accent today? Could you get in touch with that dream agent or that dream manager? And even by talking about this, by saying this, by telling you, it gets me inspired to do more too. There are so many possibilities, endless possibilities. You just need to believe in yourself and where you envision yourself going and make that a reality instead of keeping it as something you hope and wish for in the future, something that you keep putting aside, thinking, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow or the next day. You are an actor. So stop waiting around, waiting for the phone to ring, and you become the working actor you dream to be. Now, if you've been thinking locally instead of globally, or you feel like one of the things I talked about today really is holding you back, hey, maybe it's the American accent. Well, then I've got a great start for you. If you have not yet downloaded my free guide, How to Master the All-American Accent so you can audition with confidence, then go ahead and download my free 7-step process where I teach my actors how to perform with an American accent. Just head over to katherinebeck.com/accent to grab your copy. And if you ever have a question or a topic you'd like to hear on the podcast, go ahead and join me on Instagram, send me a DM, and let me know. My Instagram handle is @Katherine_Beck_. You can find me there, send me a DM, and let's chat. I would love to hear from you. And coming up next week on the show, I am going to be talking with Australian actor Kate Lister. We're going to be talking about how she's navigated her way in working in both the US and Australian industries. Now make sure you share the show with all your actor friends, let them know what's coming up next week, and invite them to tune in with you and learn how to become an all-American actor so you can be the working actor you dream to be. Until then, go practice your American accent, and I'll see you back here next time.